and welcome to Pole Shift News. As usual, I want to thank those people that have made a contribution during the last video. We did well on the views on the last video. For some reason we had 20,000 views on the video. I don't know why that was, and again I don't know why after a couple of days we get no contributions made at all. And I think there is around about 200 videos now that's been put up covering the Pole Shift News and various other topics, but mainly it's all about the Pole Shift News. And I can't figure out why after a few days, you know, there is no contribution on any of those videos. It's really strange. I mean, do they kill the link or something? I know that some people find it difficult to donate on the PayPal link, and you know, some people have made suggestions that I find an alternative way of trying to raise some cash for this channel and the website, such as them GoFundMe channels. But then other people have said to me, it's a bit of a shame for people that want to donate, then have to know the fact that you've got to give something back to them. Those people would just rather fund the research and expect nothing back. That's so it's a fight between keeping everybody happy. But at the end of the day, when we get 20,000 views, to me that's a success in its own right. We're getting the message out there. It's a very serious topic, the Pole Shift News. It's backed by data, and there is real science going on in the research, and I think a lot of people appreciate that. Not to knock anybody other's topic, if we just mention a few: red star, Katrina, blue star, I mean, is it black star as well? I don't know, but there's these Katrina stars that are supposed to affect the magnetism, and we've covered why these stars are not affecting the magnetism, because if that was the case, they were strong enough to have an effect on the Earth's magnetic field. As it rotated, so would the magnetic North Pole bobble about to keep in line with the inbound star into our solar system. So for that reason, I have to say no. Red stars, or whatever colour stars, Katrinas, that might be suggested could cause problems with our magnetic field, are simply not. And for that same reason, Nibiru as well. Guys, I'm looking at the jet streams over the northern hemisphere, and I know that a couple of years ago, there was a deviation in the magnetic North Pole migration. It no longer tracked towards Siberia. It took a southeasterly direction off the vector towards Siberia. So, what I'm seeing here just seems to fit, common sense and logic with, the research to date. And that is, we are seeing in front of our very eyes here early signs of jet stream slippage in the direction of the migrating North Pole. That's right, it's moving in a southeasterly direction. You can quite easily see this on the screen, what you're looking at. Now, I do know that sometimes the audio is out of sync on the YouTube videos, sometimes dreadfully bad, and if that is the case, know that I'm doing my best. In fact, this is the second time I've tried to do this video because of that very fact. We can see, again, as I've mentioned before, not only this time am I mentioning the fact that it is slipping in the direction of the magnetic North Pole, and there's no reason why it shouldn't do that, because after all, it is located, the central part of the jet stream, or the epicenter of the jet stream, is over the magnetic North Pole, and so is the rotational axis. Now, I suggested we would see slippage of the jet stream in the direction of the magnetic North Pole. I believe that's what we're seeing here. I also suggested that it could be possible also to start seeing that once we start to have the weather and the climate of the Arctic region slipping along with the magnetic North Pole, we're also going to begin to go into those rotational shifts as well. That's right, I'm talking about the rotational axis, which is by no coincidence over the magnetic North Pole along with the Arctic climates. If they start to shift, then I believe others will follow. I've said it before, this is the crescendo of planetary mechanics. We've seen what happened to Mars when it lost its magnetic field. Its water evaporated, and it lost its atmosphere through sputtering. Sputtering is an effect of a weakened magnetosphere. You start to lose your magnetosphere. We're down 20% or more than that now, I believe. These organisations that are measuring these things are not coming out with the details. I believe that's to not frighten the public into the happenings of this real event. Remember this, guys. Remember this, if anything else. This last happened 780,000 years ago, and before that it happened every 350,000 years or so, or thereabouts. So, two things to bear in mind. We're in that unique period of time where this is taking place again. We know it has serious implications for planetary systems, and if you like, we'll call it planetary mechanics. You start knocking the magneto about, you're going to start the magnetosphere about, you're going to start having more cosmic radiation, and such things happen as the shifting of the jet streams, the magnetic poles, etc. It's a very serious topic for that matter alone. One other thing I want to add, and I've mentioned this to you guys before, especially you guys over here in the UK and other countries where people reside more northerly, around the same longitude as the UK, around 51, 52 degrees. We had yesterday some spectacular sundogs around about 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock. It was in between those times. I know I was on the way to the shop, and I was ever so tempted to pull the car over and just take some photos quickly, but I was too ashamed of embarrassing myself, of just doing that. What people might have thought, I don't know. But I think next time, if I'm about and I see these, I see them all the time, and I'm sure most people are walking around with their heads down and don't notice things like this. These are sundogs, and yes, they're over the UK, and this is a recent phenomena in this country. It's not a common phenomena. This is a recent phenomenon. This is what I'm saying. You've got to be more observant to notice these things. Why am I making such a big deal about the sundogs? Well, they're more common in Arctic regions, and like I said, the magnetic North Pole is tracking towards a England vector, if you like, and so now is the jet stream. So that's why I'm also pointing this out to you guys. I said 5 or so years ago, look, we've got sundogs. I'm 43 years old. This is something I know has never been a common feature in our skies over the UK. Yet it is. And what that is a signal of is that things are changing in our atmosphere, and changing over, this longitudinal region of where we are situated. If we're getting cirrus clouds form more frequently, which we are, those are the clouds, if you look at the sky, they look like feathers. If we're getting those form, it's an indication of ice crystals at lower altitudes. And if we're getting more sundogs, again, it's an indication of ice crystals. And yet on the ground yesterday, it must have been around 27, 28 degrees Celsius. It was very warm. Yet, just up there in the atmosphere, there is ice crystals forming. This thing is creeping up upon us, guys. And it's very worrying. It's worrying for me. I know the severity of all this and where this can lead. I'm not here to cause fear or frighten people. I'm here to inform you of a topic that is really taking place today in our time that never took place for the last 780,000 years. And what concerns me is that there was a period of time where it regularly went through a reversal 350,000 years, as I mentioned earlier. Only this time, it's took almost another 350,000 years to go through its reversal. I do suspect that things are slowing down in our core. And We know what happened to Mars. That's the point here I'm making. We know what happened to Mars when it lost its magnetosphere and its magnetic poles. We know it lost them. We know it had them as well through sending probes there with magnetometers on there. Fine instruments that can measure the magnetic anomalies. And when it went over a few of those craters that recently disturbed it, you could see that there was a strong magnetic field in the sediment there, in those regions. So we know it had a magnetic field. We also know that there is still water on the polar regions, and we also know at some point it had more water because of the geological features on that planet. But it lost it, guys. And I'm telling you now, we lose water on the planet, and that's the end of biodiversity on this planet. It's at the end of the life forms, as it is on Mars right now. So, it's a serious topic. Like I say, it's not all theoretically based. We're seeing things happen regularly, and it's been reported on this channel. And my job is, the way I see it, is to inform people of something that's, first of all, a very interesting topic that's close to my own heart. I have an interest in following the progression of this. I don't think as much work is being done on the magnetic pole, and that work that is being done by these organisations isn't being reported. Now, it is, we've got these organisations telling us that it's global warming. We've seen CO2 levels rise still, and yet global temperatures are coming down. We are in an ice age period still, and some people get that confused with glacial periods. We're not in a glacial period, but we are set, according to the glacial record, to be going back into one very soon. So, things are changing, guys, and these are things that we take for granted. Yes, isn't it wonderful that we've got tablets, PCs, iPhones, Android phones, all this technology to keep our minds occupied. We've got jobs where, we feel sometimes like we're rats running round a wheel, only more so these days, because we need to earn more money because things are just getting expensive. Everything is being crushed, it feels sometimes. And how often do you afford yourself the luxury to think of, subjects such as these grand subjects, in my view, such as the pole shift? It's rare. And, my heart goes out to a few of those people in eastern countries, far eastern countries, that are completely oblivious to what's happening. And, the pressure of trying to just survive, earn enough money to keep going, is the thing that's driving them to take chances. Take chances in a world where, there is not so much people with a conscience that will just simply exploit them for that very little bit of money that they've got and sell them dreams. And I'm talking about these GMO crops. And I do feel sorry for them, guys, because you just imagine losing something that your family has held on for many generations, and in your time you lost it. And that sort of thing causes some of these people to take their own lives. And I think it's very sad, very, very sad that there are these people amongst us all at a time where we should all be pulling together and helping each other. But no, they're exploiting the weaker people in other countries that just want to keep going, just want to hold on to what they've got, and to the point where they will knowingly know the outcome of what will happen if that person loses everything, do it anyhow, just so that they can go back home and get their children Xboxes or PlayStations for Christmas. It's crazy. And I hope you realise as well, guys, because there are people talking about this more and more to me, and I don't usually include it in the videos, but I've certainly noticed it. I noticed it ages ago, but what I'm seeing is a very mean and wicked society thrive. And it's becoming, to these people, fun to do so, and I think that's absolutely disgusting. Because there's nothing fun about it, but, you know, I'm not going to go on. Just keep your eyes open. You've probably noticed it yourselves. You know, I just want to leave you with a couple more facts on this. I mean, let's just compare the Northern Hemisphere right now. Let's just get a good view of where we are. Right, so we can see the UK here. So we're right over the Arctic centre, and we can see that the majority of the jet stream has slipped southeasterly in the direction, if we just back it up, over England way. Again, let's look at the equatorial region. We can see more equatorial exchanges between the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere. This was reported on a few channels last month. Just look at the exchange taking place in this region. Massive exchanges, but no, it's no longer just restricted to one place. You know, these exchanges are taking place more frequently and in more places around the equatorial region. So we had a look at the Northern Hemisphere. We had a good picture of what's going on there. If we just take a look over the Southern Hemisphere, we'll see something a little bit more active, and you can see right up to the equatorial regions, in some of these regions here, you know, the jet stream reaching right up to the equatorial region, which is, you know, absurd. How can anyone say that this is, you know, perfectly okay and perfectly normal when this is the case? Look at how high the jet stream is. If you want, guys, which I don't think I need to, but I can bring up maps where you can see 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you know, we had nice patterns around the Northern Hemisphere at 30 degrees and 60 degrees, where your your polar jet stream was, and your subtropical jet stream, and likewise for your Southern Hemisphere. Now, you know, 20 years on, it's hard to distinguish where the Northern Hemisphere, the polar jet stream is and the subtropicals, because they've merged. I mean, we're getting these fragmented jet stream patterns, you know, sporadically show up everywhere, and this is getting out of hand, guys. It's getting worse. So just keep an eye on it, you know, that's all I'm saying. I'm going to end the video here. Again, I want to thank those people that have been supporting the video. You know, great result last month. On the last video, over 20,000 views. Let's see if we can do that again on this video. And, you know, we had a couple more people actually submit some funding towards the channel. You know, it's critical. We really need to raise money in order to do a better and more professional job and service to others, not just on YouTube, but also on the website. You know, it's not mandatory, it's voluntary. You know, if you share the same enthusiasm as me and a lot of others, then, you know, the link is always down there, guys. And there's a link on the website as well. You know, feel free. I won't keep you anymore, guys. You enjoy your weekend. We're having some fantastic weather here in the UK. If you're in the UK, keep your eye open for those sundogs in the sky. And I'll say what I usually do, and that is, be safe and bye for now.